Alright gang, SharpShot21 here. Today we are starting on the wiring. We're getting pretty close to the end. Gotta get the wiring finished up, finish up mounting the electronics, and then we should be ready to do a test print. So let's see how far we can get today. Alright, first things first. I've broken out my different connectors and their pins. Because there are certain ones that I'm not going to use right now. Like this is a set of 3 pins, just one 3-pin connector, male and female. That's for the probe, because I have to make a little tiny probe harness to include the diode. I have to make a little tiny probe harness to include the diode. So that's what these are for. We're going to do that after we get everything mounted, basically. I've got several 2-pins. I have more than I actually need because I was originally going to make, or I followed the BOM, which is set up for doing the microswitch end stops. So I have enough of these to do microswitch end stops and 2-pin connectors on the hot end and the thermistor and the front fans and a couple spares even, by the looks of my count. So, or no, that would be just enough to do it that way. But since we're doing the Hall effect, we're only going to end up using about 2 of these. But that's okay. We'll find other uses for these later. Speaking of the Hall effect, we have this one, which is specific to the connector on the Hall effect end stop. So you have to get the pin for it and the housing for it, because it's not going to match up with the rest of the bill. So that's what these are for. We will be using this one. Then I've got some 4 pins. I have enough to do the A drive, the B drive, the extruder drive, and the hot end. The hot end is going to be on a 4-pin. Wasn't the original plan, but that's okay. We're going to do it that way now. So I have 1 spare, and I won't need it for anything, but I have a spare. And then we have a bunch of the female pins and a bunch of the male pins. So should be more than enough to get us what we're doing. I have already measured out the wires. I'll throw in a little clip of how I did that right now. And now that we're done with measuring out the first set of wires, I've measured out the rest of them. Follow that along. Let me get you guys set up and we'll start making bundles. Alright, if you've seen my V0 series, this is going to look very similar. If not, I'll link it. We do need a couple of tools. I've got these nice Klein auto strippers. And these... Excuse me. And I've got these Japanese engineering connector pliers. So they're designed to put the crimped ends on any of pretty much a JST, a Molex, DuPont, anything of that nature. This will put the crimped ends on. So we will need these. Now, we're going to start with the extruder drive harness. Because that's what I've got pulled out right now. I think I want to put the ends with the clasp on the cables. And then the other ends on the motors. Now what's a little unintuitive for these ones is, if memory serves, the male pins go in this and the female housings go in here. So we actually want these guys. And I'm not sure why I got totally incorrect count, but oh no, it's not incorrect. About to use some of these. Yeah. So what we've got to do, actually, I'm going to check this. So yes, the sockets go into the male end of the connector, the pins go into the female end of the connector. Electrical's weird. What we need to do for these is, I actually want to we only need to strip off a very little bit of the wire here. I'm talking 2 millimeters worth of wire. Because even what I did right there is just too long. That's okay, we can trim off any excess wire. These things are massively oversized. What you need is enough stripped wire to go in the big end and enough insulation to go into the little crimp. There's a little bit of an art form, and I believe these need the 1.6 mil crimp for both. Alright, yep. So, crimp them on. And you just gotta finagle the ends in here. There's the right way and the wrong way. Or one upside down and the right side up. Push it in, give it a gentle tug, make sure that it's on fully. And we repeat this process for every wire in the bundle. Make sure you match the wire orientation between this one for the drive and the one that you put on the drive, so that red will connect to red, blue will connect to blue, green will connect to green, and black will connect to black. I'll come back when I've got this one finished. I'm going to show you how we're going to keep them somewhat in order. Okay, I've got the end done. Now what we're going to do, we're going to pull out this whole rat's nest of wire. these all out. Keep them all kind of bundled together. I'm going to take a piece of masking tape. Yeah, it's silicone wire, so it won't stick all that great, but it doesn't have to stick perfectly. It just needs to keep them all together. And then I'm just going to write a big E on it for extruder. From there, take this whole bundle. Kind of neatly, but again, doesn't have to be perfect. Just bundle it up. And I'll set it off to the side on the printer. I'm going to do this with every bundle of them. Whether it's the extruder drive, the hot end, the fans, the Hall effect end stop, the AB drives, doesn't matter. They're all going to get bundled up like this. When they're all bundled up, we'll start getting them installed. Once they're all installed, we'll put the ends on the pieces that they connect to, the AB drive, the extruder drive, the fans, the hot end. The Hall effect end stop actually has it built on, so that one I'll just plug right in. And then we can call the wiring complete on the top half, flip the machine over, mount the electronics, finish up the wiring. So, I'll come back when I've got all these done. See you in a bit. Now we're back. Now, first thing we got to do on this step of the process, so we actually need to take off one end of these cable chains. That's what we need to do. Is stretch these out, and then there's little doors on one side of these, and I'm not sure which side it is. Yep, there's little doors that pop open. Now I've got all of those cable chains that have the opening on the exterior of the bend. These are quite handy, as you don't have to play upside down on these builds to get your cables where you want them. Now we're going to start with the extruder cable, the extruder drive. I'm going to lay that down in first. Another thing that I'm going to try to do is to get all the ends to end up, oops, inside the little cover. to close the cover here. And wind up sticking the ends inside. And I'm going to leave a little bit of a loop too. I'm going to pop these ends off. I'm going to pop this end off when it's time to run everything through, just because it'll be easier that way. Now the next run to do will be the hot end. Tool holder and one, or the tool head and whatnot. Now we will be able to work any slack in this system out of it. Before we finish it all up. So we don't have to worry about making sure that every wire is right where it's supposed to be at the exact length. We'll do that later. There's only two more things to go up in here. The part cooling fan. And the hot end fan. And this is why this one is so the smallest of the zip chain, or the drag chains. And to secure it in there, we just flip the little doors back over. We'll do this, get a button back down, and then we'll do the next chain. Okay, quick little overview. I've got all the wires run down through this cable chain, over through this little loom, down this cable chain, through some loom, through this bundle, up this cable chain, down, and oh, there's wires. All sorts of wires. So, what I'm doing now is I still have these ends. This is the B drive end, and this is the A drive end, and gotta put bundles over there, put ends on those ones. So I'm putting ends on. You've seen me put ends on. It's nothing special. I'll come back when it's time to flip it over and we'll parse out what's down below. See you in a bit. Okay. So I've got the bed centered as is needed. For those of you who are curious, on a 300 mil build, the bed, the outside to inside dimension, so from like here to where the bed mount is, needs to be 125 mil to the side on the front and back and left and right. That will get your bed nice and centered. Now, the next thing that we need to do is mount up these rails. And I think we can get away with some M3 by 12s or maybe M3 by 8s. Yep. And 4 more of these T-nuts. Now it is going to be a little tight to get these in, but it's not too bad. Okay. Got the DIN rails mounted. Now we need to figure out where we want to place everything. I think I want to do something along the lines of this. Okay, this printed mount sucks. I'm gonna have to just buy a regular one. I mean, I'm gonna reprint it for the moment, but not great. But I think I'm going to put it about here, because we have what is this? This is the power mount plate for the unfiltered bracket, and there's the unfiltered power insert. Really, that just snaps in. This will then mount here. I am going to put a Cat 5 cable that runs from this port, or this port, over to the Raspberry Pi eventually. But I'm not going to do that right now because I don't have the cable made up. So, for the moment, let's get all these mounted on. I've got these two set up. This one has 4, this one has 3. The one with 4 is for all the Z drives. The one with 3 is for the A, B, and E drives. A Raspberry Pi. Alright. Time for some cable routing. I don't have any of my cable mounts because they haven't shown up yet. So we're going to leave some extra cable so I can route this. Alright, so I've got everything laid out to where I believe it's supposed to go. I'm going to have to reprint this, but it's going to live here. That way I can take the line power from here, run over to here, in to one of these. The other one of these can go back into the neutral. I can get line, neutral, and ground over to here as well. Get power from this over to the Pi. Power from here to over to here and over to here. And then, well, the trick is going to be wiring in all these with enough slack so that I can cable manage it all later. Right. Not to mention this ground. I'd like to come over here and tie in here. This is the ground for the bed. I did double this up. I think, well, the first thing to start is getting this mounted up and getting some spades on here for power. Mount, and then start running power lines over to here and to here. Testing voltages on both of these. And then running everything. Start with power and work our way down. So let me get this mounted up. It's going to be 2 M8s, I think, and some cage nuts. So if I'm looking at the end of my plug correctly, this one is marked with an E. That's earth. That one's an N. That's neutral. That one's an L. That's the line at the hot. Hot appears plugs into the top in here, and it goes over here. If I flip the switch to 0, it's still on. If I check the neutral though, oh hey, the neutral's the switch one. So blue is going to go on the bottom, and brown is going to go up top. So I need to take just a little more off of that one.
Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It really helps me out, and it lets you know when I put something new up. New videos will be going up on Tuesdays or Thursdays at 8 a.m. Eastern. And if I do decide to do live streams, I will try to give 24 hours notice. So hit the subscribe button on the channel, and you'll be notified when I post that stuff too. Hope to see you next time. Sharps out.